Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, March 5th.
April 2nd.
April 2nd. There's the wrong date on my paper. It is Monday, April 2nd. Welcome to the Liquor Commission hearing. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the minutes.
Okay.
Roll call. Clerk Simpson.
Commissioner Papantos?
Present.
Commissioner Lang?
Here.
Commissioner Vito?
Here.
Commissioner Kruger?
Present.
Commissioner Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Brady informed the board he would not be here this evening, and Chairperson Horker.
Here. You have before you the minutes of the special meeting of March 5th, 2018. That's where I got the March 5th from. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Lang, second trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Clerk Simpson, citizens' concerns and comments?
There are none.
Thank you. We have a hearing tonight. Who wants to read this? Trustee?
The clerk can read
Clerk
it,
Simpson.
and then we'll hand it over to the attorney.
Hearing in the matter of D'Agostino Pizzeria, Wheeling, Illinois, 241 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 18-01.
Good evening, everyone.
Mr. Stavros.
Nick Stavros for the record, STAVROS, on behalf of the Chief of Police of Village of Wheeling. This is a situation regarding a compliance check. Just by way of background, for anyone that's unaware of what exactly is going on for the purpose of this hearing, every year, pursuant to Village Municipal Code 432030, subsection C2, the Wheeling Police Department is authorized to enter the premises of any liquor license holder for the purpose of determining whether any of the provisions of their license are in violation. In December of 2017, every establishment with a liquor license was provided notice that random checks would be occurring in January of 18. 43 establishments were checked on January 29th, 2018. 41 were found to be in compliance, and 2 of which were found to be in violation of subsection 432165, which is a violation of selling liquor to a minor. On both instances, an underage purchaser entered the establishment, sat down at the bar, and ordered an alcoholic beverage. The purchaser provided an underage ID upon request. The server in both instances examined the underage ID, handed it back, and retrieved a bottle of beer in both cases, opened it, and placed it in front of the underage purchaser. Both servers were independently charged, and those matters were resolved in the Circuit Court of Cook County. And before you tonight is the owner of the establishments who are here to answer the petition, which was previously served upon them on March 23rd, 2018.
Can we get sworn in? Get the defendant sworn in, please, by the court reporter.
I do.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Jeffrey D'Agostino, Jeffrey, middle initial J. Last name D'Agostino, D', capital AGOSTINO.
And are you the owner of D'Agostino's Pizzeria Wheeling, Inc., doing business as D'Agostino's Pizzeria?
I am. That is correct, sir.
Okay. And were you previously provided with the petition, which is before the commission tonight?
Yes, sir.
And have you had an opportunity to read the petition in its entirety?
I have.
And are you in a position and authorized to either admit or deny the allegations contained in that petition?
I am.
And do you admit or deny those allegations?
I admit the allegations.
Okay, I have no further questions.
I have a question on behalf of the commission, if that's okay, Chairman.
Please.
Do you have a policy regarding service of alcohol to your patrons? regarding checking IDs and
Oh,
things of that
absolutely.
nature?
Absolutely.
Is that a written
Absolutely. And, you know, from looking at our camera, she did check the ID. She apparently just did not do math correctly and didn't acknowledge it as well as she probably should have. And that's no excuse, but we do. I mean,
Is it a written
if you look
policy?
like you're 50 or under, you should be ID'd.
Do you have a written policy, Mr. DiAugustino?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
Can you provide a copy of that
For
to
sure.
the village clerk?
We can. Mhm.
Thank you. And regarding the employee that served the alcohol to the
Yes, sir.
underage individual, was there any job-related consequences for this individual or some reprimand?
She wanted to quit. She's one of our best employees. You know, I mean, maybe it seems hard to believe, but she is. She's just a fantastic employee. I convinced her not to. I said, this is both of our responsibilities. Maybe you just weren't taught well enough to know how extremely important it is to take time, read those IDs, and make sure you know what you're looking at. She still works for us. I'm very fond of her. I think she's a great employee. So that's just not my style. I mean,
Sure.
you just have to take the heat.
And I'm not suggesting that she needed to be terminated, but did you speak with her about it and
Oh,
convince her of the
absolutely.
seriousness of
We've
this
spoken
issue?
with all of our staff.
Sure.
This is my wife, Debbie DiAugustino, and she's sat down with every one of our staff, made up our own like quiz with fake IDs and whatever, so that people know right from wrong. They had to do the quiz, and whatever they didn't get right went over with them so that they understand why.
Sure.
And, you know, we're just trying to do the best we can with that, you know.
That's all I have, Chairman Horker.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrolo. Commissioner Papantos?
Thank you. One of my questions was asked, and that is, how do you plan to prevent this from occurring again? And you've trained all staff, because
Absolutely. We have.
typically it's not just one person, it's the process that's wrong that allows this. But one thing you said that bothers me a little bit is that the employee may not have done the math right. Do you know the difference between an underage ID and
I do, and she should as well. She
Because
should as
there's no
well.
math involved, if I'm
Absolutely.
correct.
Well, yeah, agreed.
It's vertical versus horizontal when you look at the driver's
Right.
license, so it kind of stands out.
I get it. I know. I mean, I get it. I get it. It's just too big of a hurry, you know? It's no excuse. I can't make an excuse for her.
But staff is aware of this, and they're aware that,
100%. They're aware of it, and we'll do the best we can to keep making them aware of it and enforcing how, you know, critical this is.
great,
I mean,
thank you.
I promise you that, for sure. I don't want to come back. I mean,
Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Kruger?
Thank you, President Horker. Attorney Ferrolo, our license requires that all servers be Bassett trained.
That's correct.
Mr. DiAugustino?
I have those with me if you'd like them.
And this particular server was in fact Bassett trained before the incident?
No, she is now.
That's all I have.
You know, we ride everybody to do it, and they all promise they're going to do it. And after this happened, I said, I don't want any more excuses. There can't be. You guys got to do this stuff. And again, no excuses.
Fair enough, thank you.
There are no other questions? Thank you. We have one more case to hear, and then we will deliberate in executive session. Thank you.
Okay.
Clerk Simpson, B.
Hearing in the matter of Twin Restaurant Wheeling LLC, DBA Twin Peaks Restaurant, 781 North Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 18-02.
Mr. Stavros?
Nick Stavros again for the co-reporter, STAVROS, on behalf of the Chief of Police, Village of Wheeling.
Good evening. My name is Paul Tanzillo, Tanzillo, on behalf of the Twin Peaks Restaurant.
My name is Dennis Lisniak, DENNISLYZNIAK, manager at Twin Peaks Restaurant.
I previously read a summary of the events which are alleged in the petition. Did you have an opportunity?
Mr. Stavros, can we get them sworn in?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
I previously read the summary, which is also contained in the petition. Did you have a chance to read the petition?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did I miss the title? Is he the owner or general manager? Okay. And as general manager, are you in a position on behalf of the business to either admit or deny those allegations?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And do you admit or deny the allegations set forth in the petition?
I admit.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay, same questions that I asked the other defendant. Do you have a written policy regarding checking IDs related to the sale of liquor?
Yes, we do.
I'd ask that you provide that to the village clerk in the next, well, we'll indicate in the order by when you should do that. And then secondly, regarding the employee involved, was the employee counseled? Was the issue discussed with the employee? Describe what consequences there were, if any.
It was discussed, and the employee has been terminated.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrolo. Commissioner Papantos?
Thank you. Same question as I asked the previous owner. What do you plan to do to prevent this from happening again?
To the point of Mr. DeAgostino, there was no excuse for the individual to not notice that it was not that it wasn't under 21 ID. All of our employees are BASA trained. We go through a strict online training as well for all of our liquor handling and ID handling throughout all of our shifts. From that point moving forward, even till today, we do mention the date of birth that we must check, and as well training on noticing IDs. If there's anything that is out of the ordinary, a manager is called over to check IDs.
And this is for all employees, not just...
All employees, yes, ma'am.
I mean, because checking the birth date is good, but as I said before, the underage ID is...
That's unacceptable.
There's no missing a vertical ID versus horizontal.
Not at all.
And let me add, the employees, when they are hired, are told that if they serve an underage individual, they will be terminated. So it's part of the employment policy that is indicated to them at the time of their employment. In addition, I've made a suggestion to this restaurant, but also the other restaurants in Illinois, that they no longer accept under 21 driver's licenses or identifications as a form of identification, so that they won't run into this problem again and somebody doesn't have to do the math.
Okay.
No
Thank
other
you.
questions? Trustee Commissioner Kruger?
Thank you. Same question that I asked the other petitioner. Was this particular, I just want to be clear, you said that all of your staff? So she was BASA trained. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, we're satisfied with the testimony. I need a motion to adjourn, to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Kruger, second, Commissioner Papantos. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes, it is 6:43. We will
Before you break, for the record, that motion was for the purpose of deliberating the testimony and evidence that we just heard.
Yes.
I don't think we got that out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
For the purpose,
We were quick on the vote.
I try to keep up.
Right.
We will recess. We'll be back as quickly as possible.
Okay.
The hung jury. That's what I said. New trial.
Okay. Oh, I can't do that.
Okay, I need a motion to reconvene into open session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion Commissioner Vogel, second Commissioner Kruger. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Here.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Here. Trustee, you don't want that job. Mr. Frola, would you please explain the decisions of the board?
Certainly, Commissioner Horker. The Liquor Commission has deliberated, and first, some preliminary comments. DeAugustino's has been open and serving liquor since 2011. This is their first offense, which the commission is pleased with, that you've gone 7 years without having an offense, but this is serious and should be taken seriously. The fact that you had an employee who served alcohol that was not BASA trained, that's a violation of the code. It's a separate violation that the commission also wants to point out and make sure that never happens again. But the commission has deliberated, and if I can get a motion to impose the following penalty: a $500 fine, the payment of the DeAugustino's proportionate share of administrative costs for this hearing, submission of proof of BASA training of all of your employees within 5 business days, and a submission of the written policy regarding service of liquor within 5 business days to the village clerk. If Chairman Horker, if you can get a motion to that effect.
Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion Commissioner Vogel, second Commissioner Kruger. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
No.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes.
And regarding the second hearing involving Twin Peaks Twin Restaurant Wheeling LLC, docket number 18-02, the Liquor Commission has deliberated, and a similar penalty will be imposed if the commission can make a motion to impose the following penalty: a $500 fine, payment of Twin Peaks proportionate share of administrative costs, a submission of all proof of BASA training of employees, and a submission of the written policy regarding service of alcohol within 5 business days to the village clerk.
Looking for that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Commissioner Papantos, second Commissioner Vogel. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
No.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes.
Written orders will be signed by the Liquor Commissioner and served on both establishments this Monday, probably tomorrow or Wednesday, detailing what I just described.
Thank you. Direction's clear. Thank you guys for coming, and I hope never to see you again. Clerk Simpson, C.
Consideration of request for Class A1 liquor license from Superdawg Drive-In Incorporated, 333 South Milwaukee Avenue.
I don't know, is that allowed in here?
Well, show and tell. Probably should have brought them empty. Hi, my name's Scott Berman. I'm the owner of Superdawg Drive-In with my family. I'm an attorney, and I'm also a fellow commissioner. I sit on the Plan Commission in Skokie, Illinois.
Mr.
Berman?
No.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. I was just going to introduce the topic. As the title indicates, the petitioner is looking for a Class A1 liquor license in order to sell, well, I guess the beer that is before you, which is a proprietary product. A couple of things to mention as far as the license goes. The license would allow service inside the building and only on the picnic benches immediately outside the building. Superdawg's car hops will not sell or serve alcoholic beverages. There's also a drive-through window as part of the restaurant, but sales of alcoholic beverages through drive-through windows are explicitly prohibited by the village's municipal code. Other than that, it is an A1 license, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Obviously, the petitioner is here as well and can do the same.
Mr. Berman, can you hold that up so the labels can be seen by the cameras for everybody?
Sure.
There you go. There's your
There
15
is
seconds
super
of
beer
free advertisement.
And Whoopski beer.
What's it called?
Whoopski, named after our Whoopski dog, which was a family favorite. It's our special recipe, Polish, Romanian, Hungarian sausage, and the Whipsky beer pairs with it.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there questions from the board? Commissioner Papantos.
Thank you. Obviously, we take the sale of liquor very seriously, and I did watch the Plan Commission. So at this point, or at the Plan Commission, you indicated you were only going to have 2 people who were Bassett trained and selling alcohol?
That's correct.
Will that cover all the hours that you're open?
It is. We are only open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. We have one manager on each shift only. Sometimes they double up, but there is always one manager. We wanted to control the liquor, not only controlling the beer, but also controlling the inventory through the register. So only that one person, one manager at a time can press the register button. Only that one person can pour the beer. We also wanted to control, for Bassett reasons, the pouring of the beer. So only that person can pour the beer at the front counter. So even though the beer will be drunk, possibly, hopefully, on the picnic area, it has to be purchased from that one Bassett trained manager at the register and brought by the customer, him or herself, back out to the picnic area. So it'll be adequate. It's the right number of people, Bassett trained at the right position at the front counter only.
Thank you. And if I remember correctly from the Plan Commission, you plan to sell the 6 packs of beer, but they will not be cold.
That's right. That's intentionally unrefrigerated because we don't want people to take the cold 6-pack, break them open, and begin to drink at the place. So we are intentionally keeping unrefrigerated 6-packs and only pouring refrigerated single cans.
Great. Thank you.
Commissioner Kruger.
Thank you. You're only going to be selling your proprietary beer,
That is correct.
but the license for A1 does allow beer and wine,
That is correct.
correct? So do you have any intention of expanding your liquors?
We have no intention. We not only have these 2 beers that are proprietary, we have one more that is being brewed by the brewmaster called Superdawg 1948 Pale Ale. It's an IPA, and it is also branded with us, and it is our special recipe beer. So only those 3 beers. I will say, though, that we have had over time, over our 8 years of existence, the occasional beer and wine party at Superdawg where an outside customer comes in and wants to serve beer and wine, for which we have gotten a special license from Martin here in the village, a temporary one-time use license. That could happen again, where we would at that time be serving beer, and again, beer or wine. It would only be our special recipe, beer or wine, and if it were that wine at that time, no other alcohol, it would be served only by my daughter, the Bassett trained manager.
And then will you be then seeking the proper license for that, or no?
I don't know if that's necessary, but I would if you want.
It would be, right?
They shouldn't need to.
If it's just beer and wine.
If it's just beer and wine, you have a license to serve.
We would never want to serve anything else.
Fair enough. Thank you.
We're not a bar.
Thank you, Mr. Berman. Any other questions from the board? That being the case, I would...
May I? There are 3 conditions before you make a motion, if I can. 1, passage of legislation by the Board of Trustees granting special use approval. 2, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class A1 liquor license. And 3, satisfactory background check results.
With those 3 conditions in mind, do I have a motion to...
So moved.
Commissioner Kruger, did you want to say something?
Fair enough. Would one of the conditions also be to show proof of Bassett training for the 2 managers?
It's already written into the code.
Fair enough.
That being the case, motion Commissioner Lang, second Commissioner Papantos. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes. Please read the...
You get to listen to me read 2 times tonight. Class A1 restaurant and beer license. Class A1 licenses shall authorize the retail sale of beer and wine only in restaurants for consumption on the premises, subject to the following. Conditions and qualifications. A Class A1 licensed premises must provide a minimum table seating capacity in the dining room area of 75 persons, exclusive of all bar stool and bar area tables or seats. Must be operated primarily as a sit-down restaurant, offering its patrons full and complete meals prepared on the premises, including a full dinner menu, and must serve and take orders for meals until no earlier than 2 hours prior to the actual closing of the establishment on any day. Video gaming is defined under the Illinois Video Gaming Act 230 ILCS. Please note that in addition to the conditions and qualifications specific to this license class, all Wheeling liquor license holders must comply with all provisions of the Wheeling Municipal Code and are responsible for being familiar with those provisions.
Thank you.
Now the vote. Yes. Roll call.
Do we have a motion?
Didn't we?
You have a motion.
Took the
Yeah.
roll call. You took the vote.
Pardon?
You took the vote.
Yeah,
Didn't you take the vote already?
Oh,
Wasn't the vote?
This is another vote.
that was for the
Vote was
D4.
I was simply reading into record, and for the petitioner's sake, what a Class A1 license is.
Now we
The
need a motion.
next item is
Next
for
item.
D4.
No, just go ahead and take a roll call?
Well,
No, we need to talk about the D4 first.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Farrell, or Mr. Spondilis.
Thank you. To separate this item from the previous, a Class D4 license is to allow the petitioner to sell packaged liquor for consumption off premises. As Commissioner Papantos pointed out, they already have some procedure in place to prevent the consumption of the packaged liquor on premises, and that is that it will be sold unrefrigerated. So again, a Class A1 is to consume on premises. A D4 is to be consumed off premises.
Questions from the commission?
How much a six-pack? We haven't decided yet, either $12.99 or $13.99.
Any other questions from the commission?
Make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Vogel, second.
Second.
Commissioner Lang. Read that before we vote.
Oh, all right. A Class D4 license shall authorize the retail sale of alcoholic liquor by the package for consumption off the premises, subject to the following. Conditions and qualifications. A Class D4 license shall be issued only as a supplemental license to the holder of a Class A, AV, A1, A1V, B, BV, B1, B1V, C, or CV liquor license. The holder of a Class D4 license shall remain subject to all conditions, qualifications, and limitations of the primary liquor license class. The holder of a D4 license shall only sell, offer for sale, or give away alcoholic liquor in any form during the hours of operation specified for the license holder's primary license class in Section 4.32.200. In the event that the primary liquor license held by a Class D4 license holder is revoked, suspended, or declared forfeited or lapsed by the Liquor Control Commission, the Class D4 license shall also be revoked, suspended, or declared forfeited or lapsed. A Class D4 license shall not be issued in lieu of a more appropriate license contained within this section.
And the conditions upon which the motion rides?
It is the following. There are 4. 1, passage of legislation by the Board of Trustees granting special use approval. 2, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authoring the creation of a new D4 liquor license. 3, satisfactory background check results. And 4, receipt of a Class A1 liquor license.
And now a roll call, please.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Be looking for a motion to adjourn from the Liquor Commission hearing.
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner Lang, second. Or not.
Second.
Commissioner Kruger, sorry, I was looking that way. I didn't hear you. Wait. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Village Board for April 2nd, 2018. Clerk Simpson, roll call, please.
1 second, okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's just... Okay. I'm ready.
Attendance.
Trustee Papantos,
Present?
Trustee Lang,
Here.
Trustee Vito,
Here.
Trustee Kruger,
Present.
Trustee Vogel,
Here.
President Horker.
Here. You have before you the minutes of the special workshop meeting of March 5th, 2018. I need a motion for their approval.
So move.
Motion trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger, roll call.
Trustee Lang, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Papantos,
Yes?
Trustee Lang,
Yes.
Trustee Vito,
Yes.
Trustee Kruger,
Yes.
Trustee Vogel,
Yes.
Trustee Horker.
Yes. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none this evening.
Thank you. Proclamations, resolutions, and awards. Clerk Simpson.
National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 8th through the 14th, 2018. Americans are the victims of more than 20 million crimes each year, affecting individuals and communities. Years of investment in crime victims' rights and services have developed a system of victim response that can help victims recover from crime. Reaching and serving all victims of crime is essential to supporting thriving communities because those who receive services and support are more likely to remain invested in their communities. Dedicated victim service providers are working every day to meet the needs of crime victims, yet there are still too many victims without meaningful access to rights and services. Many victims face barriers such as isolation, distrust of authorities, language limitations, lack of transportation, or cultural barriers that keep them from accessing the services and criminal justice system that can help them recover from crime. We must make a dedicated effort to expand the circle of those prepared to respond to victims and link them to the resources that can help them recover. Engaging a broader array of healthcare providers, community leaders, faith organizations, educators, and businesses can provide new links between victims and services that improve their safety, healing, and access to justice. National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that all victims of crime, especially those who are challenging to reach or serve, are afforded their rights and reserve a trauma-informed response. The Village of Wheeling is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building a resilience to our communities and our victim responders, and working for justice for all victims and survivors. Patrick Corker, President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim the week of April 8th through the 14th, 2018, as National Crime Victims' Rights Weeks in the Village of Wheeling, reaffirm this village's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year, and express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim of service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improve our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace.
Thank you, Clerk Simpson. Next item.
National Public Safety Telecommunication Week, April 8th through the 14th, 2018. Emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. When an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. The safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Wheeling's Emergency Communication Center. Public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. Public safety telecommunicators serve as a vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and promoting their safety. Public safety telecommunicators of the Village of Wheeling have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, the suppression of fire, and the treatment of patients. The dispatchers of the Village of Wheeling have exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance of their duties during the past year. Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim April 8th through the 14th, 2018 as National Public Safety Telecommunication Week in Wheeling in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism help to keep our village and citizens safe.
Do we have one to present? You can just Manager Raquella, would you please come forward? We will be presenting you with a properly framed plaque. I would just like to thank you for your services to the village. Appointments, confirmations. Clerk Simpson.
Okay, I'm going to sort it. Do we have to take a vote before?
We do have to vote.
Okay.
I'm looking for a motion to approve Steve Freed to the Health Commission. I would like a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Vogel, second trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Okay, wait. Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Administration of oath.
Mr. Freed? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Steve Freed,
I, Steve Freed,
having been appointed to the Board of Health Commission
being appointed to the Board of Health Commission
in the Village of Wheeling,
in the Village of Wheeling,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and the
States
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Office of Board of Health Commissioner
of the Office of Board of Health Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you. Well, it's an honor to be part of the Board of Health. My background is I'm a pharmacist and a certified diabetes educator. And I know I can have an impact on the lives of the people that live here in Wheeling. I've got a lot of ideas, and I'm sure they'll be tired of listening to me. Thank you.
Clerk Simpson. Citizens' concerns and comments.
Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Mr. Rosen?
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm here as a citizen of Wheeling and also a representative, a member of the Wheeling Rotary, and I want to talk a little bit about a Wheeling Rotary today to you. Our Wheeling Rotary Club is one of 33,000 clubs over 200 countries with a total of membership of about 1.2 million volunteers. Our motto is service above self. And we served our community for over 58 years. We're a 58-year-old Rotary Club in Wheeling. We are dedicated to improving the conditions of health, hunger, and education, both in our community and internationally. Internationally, eradicating polio is our Wheeling Rotary, as well as Rotary International's top priority, requiring immunization of every child under 5 years old in the entire world. At this time, we have accomplished nearly 99% of that mission, spanning over several decades to accomplish. Also, every year with the Buffalo Grove Rotary, many of us have and will continue to travel to Guatemala's remote communities, building shelters, providing clean water storage, and other hands-on needed services. In our community, as you probably know, we help by funding and participating in the college scholarships over at Wheeling High School, in vocational programs over at the Harper facility, and by providing winter coats for District 21 students, supporting pads Omni Youth Services, and the literacy programs over at Indian Trails Library. Also, in recent past, we have provided the Village of Wheeling with financial support to help those in need during last summer's flood. We've started and for many years partnered with the Village of Wheeling in our food pantry, which unfortunately is no longer with us, but we had a good run. We also give our time and financial support to District 21's reading program, to our Wheeling seniors by having an annual lunch for them, and to those Wheeling residents in need, thanks to our Thanksgiving community food drive and our financial support to 4 local food pantries. Our Wheeling Club meets every Friday, weekly, for lunch at Chevy Chase, starting at 12:15. Our club members receive no financial considerations and need continuous support from our local membership to continue with our mission. Among our 20 members are leaders who represent the School District 21, Wheeling Parks District, National Lewis University, Indian Trails Library, and Wheeling High School, thus giving our membership a weekly chance to exchange views among themselves and as well as with others in our community. What is missing and what is most unusual compared to all the other Rotary clubs is that we have no representation from the Village of Wheeling. For us to continue to serve and to represent the village, we need your support through representation as members, be it from our village manager or from the police or from the fire department. So we would love to have your support, and please, I'd love for you to at least contact me one way or another if you intend to do so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
Ms. Wilson?
Good evening. I'd like to thank you for what you did during the Liquor Commission. Sometimes providing a financial consequence fine for a code violation, be it an oversight or whatever, it just gives enough of a sting to kind of impress upon business owners to make sure that their employees do the right thing. So I think that was really great. I know that Joe Vito is a fiscal conservative. Several months ago, you talked about some concerns you had with Springfield, with unionizing and things like that. Unions are often brought about for safety issues. It's not always about cash, it's about money. And I'm really concerned about this multiple fires that we've had at this laundry facility. July of 1997, I was a burn victim, and I was spent much of 1997 in compression garments. So I'm particularly sensitive to this issue of burns. So I would really encourage you to I've talked to Chief McIsaac. He's already been working with this business owner. He's had a few visits out there, and yet his best efforts, there's still repeated fires there. So I would like you to perhaps consider legislation, something we can add to put some kind of a fine. If there's any kind of a code violation, if he is not cleaning his machines often enough, let's stick him with a fine. Not just him, any commercial laundry facility that may be in Wheeling, because those employees, they'll be forced to unionize unless government has meaningful legislation and consequences to keep them safe. And so I would hope that we would care not just about those living in Wheeling, but those employed by Wheeling, because burns are, you don't ever want to go through that. And if somebody gets hurt, and we've got a history of this repeated violations, I just think it would be egregious for us to not address that by giving them more security that way. In front of me, I have a 2017 police overtime report. And in 2017, Joe Dawson got $19,808 in overtime. FOIA records I got recently show this document is titled the 2017 actual salaries and overtime totals. Joe Dawson got $19,808 in 2017 in overtime. You budgeted for him, $93,932. So this adds up to a total of only $113,740. And yet the document titled actual salaries and overtime totals show that this guy's got a salary of $153,456 for 2017. So that's off by $39,000. He's making more than $39,716 more than the overtime and budget can account for him. So you can only make decisions based on what you think the salaries are going to be. And if they're that off, you know, when you vote at your October budget hearing, if the actual salaries, like this document is titled actual salaries and overtime, what we're actually paying them, not just what we're budgeting, if they're off by tens of thousands of dollars, some per employee, and actually all of them were off a bit, but the largest was Joe Dawson, and then of course Svandilis was he's making in 2017 $24,965 more than we budgeted for him. A lot of these disparities were in department heads, which according to labor law they would be exempt from overtime. So unless the document is mistitled, it leads the impression that it's actual salaries and overtime. Even our fire chief he's budgeted for $164,000. He made $171,000. He was like over $7,000 more he made than was actually budgeted for them. All the employees were off somewhat. Mark Janik, as a department head, should be exempt under labor law to be able to earn overtime, and he's budgeted for $141,000, but he made $151,000. Mike Mondeshane, perhaps he can explain some of this to us. I mean, maybe the title of this was misleading, but we've got a math issue here. We've got a financial problem with our budget. The public counts on what you budget for them, what you budget for the employees, and so maybe they won't speak up at the hearing, at the budget hearing. But when and then there's Mulford, that guy is like, holy cow, that guy is making, we budget $86,000 for him. He actually made $124,000. So there was a difference in $38,000 just for one employee. And so I'm hoping you guys can explain this tonight, how this happened, and if there's some way we can be more transparent with the public of what we anticipate. Because if all of the employees are making between $5,000 and $55,000 more than we budget for them, then perhaps there's another document you can produce to help us anticipate what their actual income is. I think it's throwing our budget off by big numbers.
Staff reports, Public Works, Mr. Janik.
Thank you. In conjunction with the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County, on May 5th, the village is hosting an electronics and document destruction day at Public Works. We'll be open from 9 to 12. Residents and people who have Swank as their provider for pickup can come and deliver electronics and documents for destruction. I'll mention this again in a couple of weeks. It's also in our newsletter and our website. It's very popular. A lot of people come typically, but I just want to let you know in advance.
That's a rain or shine day, Mr. Janik?
That's correct. That's rain or shine.
Hours of operation?
9 to 12.
Thank you.
On Saturday.
Is there a limit on the amount of boxes for shredding?
There is a limit. I believe it's 6 boxes, but I could be wrong, could be 5. But that information is on the newsletter and should be on the website as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just picturing a watermelon bin pallet. Never mind. It's my own head. Consent agenda. Clerk Simpson.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, ordinance authorizing a Fourth Amendment to the restated redevelopment agreement between the Village of Wheeling and WTC LLC for the development of land at 351 West Dundee Road, Wheeling, Illinois, compromising a part of the Town Center 2 TIF district of the Village of Wheeling, Cook and Lake Counties, Illinois. 11B, resolution waiving the fidelity and surety bond requirements for Wings of an Angel to conduct a raffle event for 1 year from April 14th, 2018 to April 14th, 2019. 11C, resolution authorizing acceptance of a previously bid National Joint Powers Alliance contract for the purchase of one skid steer loader as specified through Atlas Bobcat of Elk Grove Village for the not to exceed amount of $46,088. 11D, resolution establishing compensation plans for the Village of Wheeling for the period May 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2019. 11F, ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling's Municipal Code, alcoholic liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.085, to increase the authorized number of Class A1 and Class D4 liquor licenses. G, ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling's Municipal Code, alcoholic liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.080, to remove the village's strict cap on Class NV liquor licenses, video gaming cafes.
Questions or concerns from the board?
So moved.
There's a motion from Trustee Lang for approval. Second?
Second.
Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. We have no old business. We'll move on to new business.
13A, resolution approving the fiscal year 2019 budget for Chicago Executive Airport.
Mr. Abbott, won't you come up and enlighten us?
Good evening, President Horker, Board of Trustees, Madam Clerk. Thank you for considering the airport budget on your agenda tonight. I want to start off by introducing Jason Griffith. He's our new finance director at the airport. Well, not new, but a few months, but I think he may be new to the board here, so I wanted to introduce Jason. He's done a great job on his first year with the budget. Just as a point of information, the airport board workshopped the budget a week before the March board meeting, and then they approved the budget at the March meeting, and of course, according to the IGA, sends it to the village and the city for approval. It has not yet gone to the city, so you're the first one to see it, and we can go from there. We can go line by line if you want, but I haven't eaten dinner yet, so we could answer any questions you might have on the budget.
Anybody interested in questions for the airport? Am I right? My left, Trustee Papantos.
Of course. Thank you.
Sure.
The first item is the master plan. We started the master plan in 2014.
Right.
I'm curious as to how much we have spent and when it will be finished and what, if any, estimate is to what the total will be.
Sure. I'll jump in first with sort of how much longer we have to go and so forth, and Jason, you could jump in with numbers. I think you have that. You should see very shortly, I think at the joint meeting, late May and early June, have a presentation on the last phase of the master plan. So stay tuned for that. You'll all get to see what's in the final phase of the study. You're right, it started in 14. Master plans, airport master plans typically take a while. There are several airports out there that's taken 8 or 9 years on a master plan. I think we're a little bit ahead of that schedule, but it's all on kind of how much the airport can fund at one time as well. So that's why we've kind of had to take it in smaller chunks than some airports are capable of doing. So we're going to enter the final phase. Like I said, you should hear that at the joint meeting coming up. That final phase, you'll see in the budget we've allocated about half of what we think may finish it up, depending on the scope of the final phase. We've conservatively budgeted pretty high for this first task. That's because we're getting into some pretty specific and specialized consulting when you start looking at environmental and airspace and so forth. So if it goes that direction, we just wanted to make sure that we were covered in the budget. Also, with the master plan, it is eligible for reimbursement with the FAA. So we are going to submit reimbursement on our TIPS program, which is the 5-year capital program that we submit every year for infrastructure projects and so forth. So that will be submitted. We think there's some support from the FAA into supporting reimbursement on not only what we've done so far, but the future phase of the master plan. So that's kind of good news for us. But it is one of those projects where you spend it up front and then you seek reimbursement later. And we do expect a little bit of money back this year for phase 2. Is that correct, Jason? As far as numbers, why don't you just jump in?
Yeah, so since 2014, the airport spent $554,189.03.
Just on the master plan?
Correct. And then phase 2 is currently eligible for $175,000 worth of reimbursement.
Was any part of phase 1 eligible for reimbursement?
Yeah, the entire plan is eligible.
But we haven't received reimbursement at this point?
Correct. And it's already planned for the $175,000 minimum. That's already been agreed to.
Now, that's a state participation.
Correct.
FA, when they participate, that'll be at 90% back to us.
Providing we finish the master plan.
Right.
All phases.
Yes, correct.
So not until the master plan is finished?
Right, that they want to see it wrapped up.
Okay. One of the, and you talk about TIPS. First of all, can you describe TIPS for people who don't know what it is?
I'm sorry, it's the Transportation Improvement Program Schedule. And every airport in the state that's eligible for state and federal funding has to submit it's a 5-year capital plan. It includes all infrastructure projects like taxiways and ramps, master plans, planning documents, environmental. So we submit that every year around November. So our last submittal included all of our projects going forward. And this will be included in, modified and submitted to the state for included in the program.
Okay. On the TIPS program is the rehab for 1230, which does need to be rehabbed, but if it were widened to 100 feet, and I believe it's currently 75 feet,
right,
the larger B-jets, if I'm, okay, I'm getting a little too technical for myself here.
That's pretty good, that's right.
Could land and take off using that runway, which would help divert some of the noise over the north side of Wheeling, where some of us live. Why haven't we include the widening to 100 feet with this rehab project? Because it seems to me it would be cheaper to do everything all at once.
Yeah, and just to give you a little history on this project, the resurface of runway 1230 has been on the TIPS program for about 3 or 4 years now. We knew that was coming. It was going to need a rehab. There was a conversation that was started about 1.5 years ago from some of the operators on the airport that operate Falcon, specifically Falcon-type aircraft. And the specs on that from that manufacturer say that in order to help avoid runway excursions, which is when the aircraft leaves the side of the runway because of crosswinds and so forth, that they should use runways with a minimum width of 100 feet. So that discussion was started. It was kind of a bad timing issue because the state had already started programming the resurface. We kind of jumped in with this new idea, and the FAA is supportive of the widening. It's just a matter of doing it at the same time. And you're right, your question before was, if you don't do it at the same time, it's a lot more expensive to come back and do it again. And we agree with that. It looks now that construction won't be started this calendar year due to the letting schedule of the state and so forth and getting permits. It looks like it's going to be a calendar year 19 project. So that does help us in the justification to go ahead and widen it at the same time as we resurface. So we're still hopeful that that's going to happen. I can't guarantee it, but we're pushing for it.
Would you then come back to us with a budget adjustment then?
The timing may be so that it might fall in the next fiscal year, because the federal and our fiscal doesn't really match. So as long as it's after May 1, we could include that in next year's budget.
Okay, thank you. And you're typically contribute $250,000 towards your SURF fund, and in fiscal year 19, you're cutting that to $200,000,
sure,
which I always consider to be dangerous. Why are you doing that?
I know it's all about paying yourself back, and It's an adjustment we made this year because we have such big ticket items on the capital side of the budget. So in order to balance out that operational side and present you with a net positive cash budget, we made those adjustments. Now, that doesn't mean that next year we won't be so strapped for cash on the capital side and we can't bump that back up to where it's supposed to be, or what is normal for us is $250 apiece. And if we can go higher, we will. So we'll make that adjustment if we can next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Lang?
Thanks. I just wanted to point out a couple of things that's happening at the airport as well, and Jamie and Jason can expand on that, is we had just completed the noise exposure map study, and now was that part of the budget for the master plan, or is that a separate?
No, those are two separate studies.
Right.
Yep.
So with that noise exposure map, something that needs to be done every 5 years, we have now we're back on schedule with that. We just completed it. It'll be completed in another 5 years, but it paves the way for noise remediation for the surrounding neighbors to the north and so on. And with that, in the TIPS program and part of our budget, we put in what was the amount, 300?
We asked for $3,800,000.
Okay.
Total.
And so our portion is 10% of that, correct? The airport's.
Correct, yes.
Okay. So that money from the airport has been put aside for the first time ever, so we can then address the needs of noise remediation, something that wasn't done in the past when we did the Part 150 study and the NEM study in the past. We didn't have money. The airport didn't have money to pay their share of this. We do now.
We do now.
We're putting it away now, so it happens.
Right, good point.
And so with that, there is money available, something good for the neighbors who are affected by noise. And future studies that we'll be going through will address who gets what. It's a completely independent review of homes, house-to-house homes that have noise problems, and completely independent from the airport's point of view. So they'll make the decision who is eligible and who isn't.
Yeah, it's a pretty structured program that the FAA has structured out. We're going to advertise soon for an RFQ for a project manager for that sound attenuation program, and that should go out in the next couple weeks. So we're going to start interviewing project managers and bring that to the board for approval. There's a lot of pre-planning before construction managers start swinging any hammers on replacing windows and so forth, but that's the plan. That's kind of the dedication that the board has made to continue that program. So.
And then just other things in the pipeline, we're working on either a standalone or a conversion of a customs facility, something that's needed. We're kind of renting space right now, and we need something more permanent. And that's happening. That study or that plan is in place right now to happen shortly, along with snow removal equipment facility to protect our expensive snow equipment.
Right. Yeah, the airport board should be seeing those first set of plans on those projects at the April board meeting.
Other than that, Jason did a great job for your first time around in the budget.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Any other questions or comments from the board? If there are no other comments, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second, Trustee Vogel, roll call. Thank you.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Item 13B, ordinance amending ordinance number 4326 to allow alcoholic beverages at Superdawg Drive-In, 333 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2018-5A.
Mr. Spondilis, you want to explain it?
Thank you. As we heard earlier, this is the ordinance that would allow, this is a special use, to allow the petitioner to serve alcoholic beverages at Superdawg Drive-In. Certainly, if there are any questions relating to the special use, Director Jennings can answer them, myself or the petitioner as well.
Questions from the board?
Make a motion, we approve.
Thank you. Trustee Vogel, second.
Second.
Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. And also from Superdawg.
13D, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for health.
No.
C.
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped one. I'm sorry. Ordinance granting special use site plan approval for packaged liquor sales at Superdawg Drive-In, 333 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2018-5B.
Mr. Spondilis.
Thank you. As described during the Liquor Commission hearing, this would create the license that allows the petitioner to sell alcoholic beverages.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second. Trustee Krueger. Roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
13D, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for a health club at 1540 Lake Cook Road, 9 Round, docket number 2018-6.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, please.
Thank you, President Horker. The petitioner, 9 Round, is seeking special use approval for a boxing and kickboxing themed health club. It would occupy half of the space that was previously occupied by Verizon Wireless at the Schwinn Crossings Shopping Center. This is at the east end of the shopping center, closer to the Potbelly side of the building. There was one condition of approval suggested by the Plan Commission. They did recommend approval, however, with the condition that additional insulation shall be added to the unit to reduce the potential for noise from the health club to have a negative impact on neighboring tenant spaces. The representatives of the business are here to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from the board? Concerns?
No.
Not sure? Yeah?
Motion to approve.
Oh. Motion to-
Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second, Trustee Krueger. No?
Papantos.
Okay. What's Papantos? Okay.
I threw my voice.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Great.
Welcome to the village.
13E, ordinance granting variations from Title 19 zoning related to parking, green space, building setback, and parking setback for a light motor vehicle repair facility at 1210 Elmhurst Road, docket number 2018-3A.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, President Horker. This is actually paired with the next item on the agenda as well. There's a variation first and then the special use second. Petitioners here for both of those. The vote on those ordinances will be taken separately. This is a somewhat unique zoning petition. The petitioners have acquired this building, as you see in the photograph here, that would be paired with an adjacent building that they also occupy, which is located in the municipality adjacent, which would be Prospect Heights. So the business we run in tandem from two separate structures, one located in one municipality and one located in the other. So the findings of fact for the public hearing held by the Plan Commission take into account the unique nature of this business being separated in two structures as well as two municipalities. With that, there are a few conditions of approval that came through the review by the Plan Commission that relate specifically to that, and then some that relate to the petitioner's proposed improvements to the structure. I will read the conditions, and the petitioners are here to answer any questions you might have. First off, for the variation ordinance, it is somewhat unusual to have a condition of approval attached to a variation ordinance, but as I said, this is a particularly unique situation with the building occupying half of the business model for this business. The variations are a reduction in the rear setback from 25 feet to 17 feet 11 inches, a reduction in the required parking setback from 10 feet to 0 feet, a reduction in the required green space from 25% to 5.2%, and a reduction in required parking from 12 to 7 stalls. The condition of approval in the variation ordinance reads as follows. In the event that the property owner is no longer owned, in the event that the property is no longer owned or operated in tandem by the light auto motor vehicle repair business at 1212 Elmhurst Road, the village shall be notified immediately. This change in ownership, management, or operation will require the petitioner to obtain approval of a revision of the parking variation after review by the Plan Commission and consideration by the village board pursuant to section 1906-030D subsection B of the village's zoning code. If such revision is not approved, the parking variation shall be the parking variation shall automatically terminate without a revocation hearing. That is the variation ordinance. The special use ordinance includes the following conditions of approval. There were 8 total. I'll try to do them rapidly. Number 1, prior to occupancy, the parking lot and asphalt drives shall be resurfaced and restriped. Number 2, in the event that the special use is no longer owned or operated in tandem by the light auto motor vehicle repair business at 1212 Elmhurst Road, the village shall be notified immediately. This change in ownership, management, or operation will require the petitioner to obtain approval of a revision of the special use after review by the Plan Commission and consideration by the village board pursuant to section 1910-030I of the village's zoning code. If such revision is not approved, the special use shall automatically terminate without a revocation hearing. Number 3, prior to occupancy, efforts shall be made to alleviate the standing water on the south side of the building. Number 4, prior to occupancy, the non-painted exterior walls shall be power washed. Number 5, the trash enclosure gate shall have a sliding mechanism for opening pursuant to the fire department memo. Number 6, the existing wall signs shall be removed and the wall repaired as needed. Number 7, it is recommended that the rear fence height be increased pursuant to the community director's discretion per section 19030080 of the village zoning code. Number 8, no outdoor storage is permitted. With that, as I said, the petitioners are here to answer any questions you may have.
Trustee Lang, you have some questions?
I do. First of all, on billing. Will billing take place for any work done in this building at this location, or will billing be handled in the Prospect Heights location?
The billing will be in the Prospect Heights location. We have an office there, and we don't have an office in the Wheeling office or building.
Okay, so does that mean any potential sales tax that is created from work done in the building in Wheeling go to Prospect Heights?
Correct, for any products purchased through that building, that's correct.
Okay. And how do we feel about that?
I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. That's a little heartburn at this point. I love Prospect Heights, but I'd rather see the billing for work done in this building to be billed out of Wheeling.
Well, we could do that.
Okay. If you can, that would be
Definitely.
terrific. It is we do take a hit on it, and we utilize that any kind of sales tax dollars and so
Right.
on for.
And also it's a vacant building right now for the taxes. Once it starts being used, we're going to pay the taxes, which is about $25,000.
Great. And that, along with any kind of sales tax, is helpful to the village of Wheeling as well. And any need for cross-access to the other location, meaning are you going to connect a drive somehow so they're connected in any way?
Yes, we are looking at a couple of different options down the road. One would be potentially a cross-access easement that would be down the road. So, yes, we haven't formally gone down that route, but we are looking towards that.
I think for safety's sake,
Exactly.
it's best, then you don't have to travel out onto Elmhurst Road to move cars around and so on. Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you. I really have a question about the repairs that you intend to do on the parking lot. It's really in pretty poor shape. You see that.
Totally resurfaced.
It says resurface. I just want to be clear that resurface, reconstruction, grind and overlay, those are all different things. I want to know exactly what you intend to do, because some people think a resurface is seal coating and fresh paint. You're not going to do that, right?
No, we'll remove the existing pavement and replace it entirely.
Fully? So full reconstruction?
Yes. It's beyond repair. It's in very bad shape.
So you're going to dig it all out and you're going to put in new? You're not going to grind only 2 inches off and then put 2 inches back?
No, there's no.
I'm pleased with that. I agree with what Trustee Lang said about cross-access, but I did on purpose go buy gas at the gas station so that I could take a look at your site, and there's like a concrete wall in between the two of those parcels, between the Prospect Heights. How do you intend to do that?
Currently, there is a curb. It's not really a retaining wall. There's a concrete curb there that have to be removed to facilitate any kind of access.
Okay, and then my last question, and I don't really know how you're going to answer this, but there was some mention at the Plan Commission hearing about possible annexation. I don't know if it's de-annexation of the Wheeling parcel into Prospect Heights or annexation of the Prospect Heights parcel into Wheeling.
So, okay, so a little background. I'm an architect on the project. I'm also a citizen of Prospect Heights, and I've volunteered on commissions with Prospect Heights, and I'm familiar with some of the sawtooth areas, boundaries of Prospect Heights.
Sure.
It's neither beneficial towards to Prospect Heights or to Wheeling. In this case, since it's bounded by Prospect Heights on both sides, it would be more likely that it would be annexed into
So
Prospect
that the
Heights.
Wheeling parcel would be annexed into Prospect Heights.
That would seem to be more
If
logical.
you decided to do that.
Yes.
I think the words used that I liked were incremental improvements. It's going to look better if you're going to make the investment to do that than it does now. Whether you move to Prospect Heights or not, it will look better. And I'm very, very pleased to hear that you are reconstructing that entire driveway. And watch the drainage. That seemed to be an issue on the south side of the building. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Vogel, Trustee Papp, you're next.
My questions are answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for making this building look better, because it's in pretty bad shape. The south side of the building does bother me a little bit in the amount of water, and I mean, I know you've looked at it, so please make sure you do your best for that. What are your plans for the building and the parking lot? How is it going to be used?
So the layout of the building itself will actually not change very much. So it'll still be used for repairs. The intention is that the customers will be going to the 1212 location, and the services, the technicians will take the vehicles to the 1210 location as needed. Since there's no outdoor storage or anything of that nature anymore, there's some additional space for, let's say, additional green space on the south side of the building, which would help to alleviate some of the moisture issues. Beyond that, the parking is going to be, the intention with the parking is that it be used more for the employees than for customers. So the employees could park at this location, and then the customers would be primarily going to the 1212 location.
Who's currently parking there in the picture we're looking at?
That's probably the employees as well.
Okay. And hopefully, once you get this building spruced up, maybe you can do a little bit on your building on the other side too.
We talked about that as well, and we're going to match whatever greenage or signage we talked about putting some plants in front, and we're going to match them with the same plants on the other side too.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. No other questions? Trustee Vito.
Yeah, John, does anyone know how this little parcel got shimmied in there. We did look it up. The parcel was annexed in 1972. Unfortunately, our records don't have any background as to why at that time the parcel was annexed into the Village of Wheeling. One of the things that I was concerned about, and I spoke with Director Janik about, was whether or not there was an easement on this property that connects the residential neighborhood behind it, which is the Village of Wheeling, to any of the main structures that run along Route 83, and the answer was no. So there is no infrastructure running under the parcel that is in Wheeling that has just been purchased. So that was the long answer. The short answer is no. We don't know why at the time it was annexed to the Village of Wheeling.
Okay, and I'm going to abstain and recuse myself from this. I represented Mexico Mufflers a long time ago in an incident that happened at their Mundelein location. He's looking at me strangely, he probably doesn't remember, but that's been long resolved, but I think out of abundance of caution, I'll abstain from this vote.
Thank you, Trustee Vito. Any other comments or questions? Trustee Kruger, Trustee Lang after.
Thanks. You brought up infrastructure managers fund, Elis. You get water, Wheeling water and Wheeling sanitary sewer on this parcel?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, and does Wheeling water or sanitary support the Prospect Heights corner or no?
Director Janik, do you know the answer?
Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, the property, the gas station, their flow, which is not very much, but they have a restaurant in there, but they flow to the Wheeling sewer on Hints Road. The sewer from here does, and it flows through the properties to the north of them. In this particular situation, because Prospect Heights doesn't have a sewer in the area, they do flow to ours, but it's minimal. It's minimal.
Okay, so they're paying for the, so they're getting billed by us for their water and sanitary.
Yes.
Very good.
The restaurant is at Dunkin' Donuts, isn't it?
That's correct, and that's right.
Okay.
They have the interior grease trap. There's not much there, but they do strangely go to our.
But nothing goes through those properties to the backs of the properties at all. This is all along 83.
Well,
the connections.
On a technical level, the sewer pipe from the Dunkin' Donuts and the gas station does run through 3 residential properties slightly to the west of these properties. The sanitary sewer from this property we're talking about tonight goes through the Prospect Heights properties. It's 2 separate lines.
Good Lord, what a complicated corner.
Yes, it is complicated.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Lang?
Well, and I'd like to create a condition that all work done in this facility be billed out of Wheeling's facility as well, and create a condition to this.
I think it would make sense to add that to the special use ordinance rather than the variation ordinance, which is the second ordinance.
Okay.
If there are no other conditions or questions, then I would be looking for a motion to approve this ordinance as is written.
So move.
Second.
Trustee Lang, second. Trustee Vogel, roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Abstain.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Harper?
Yes. That brings us to 13F. We need to go through the whole thing again, Director Jennings?
You want me to read it first?
Please read it.
13G, ordinance amending the Village of Wheeling annual budget for the fiscal year.
No, F.
No, F?
F.
Ordinance granting special use site plan approval for light motor vehicle repair at 1210 Elmhurst Road, docket number 2018-3B.
Mr. Jennings? Same?
No additional comments from staff.
Thank you. Except Trustee Lang. I'd like to poll the board to get a feel. Trustee Kruger?
Can we do it? Can we demand that work done out of that parcel be billed?
Mr. Furlow?
It's my opinion that they will need a Wheeling business license to conduct this business, at least as part of the business in Wheeling. So I believe that this condition would be appropriate.
I'm in favor of the condition.
And Trustee Lang proposed it. Trustee Vito?
Abstain.
Trustee Papantos?
Absolutely.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Seems like a little complicated, but a nice idea. I would go along with it as well. Mr. Ferrolo, what should that extra language sound like?
I would add condition number 9 that reads, billing for work done in Wheeling will be mailed out of the address of the Wheeling facility.
While that's being entered, I need a motion to approve.
With that condition, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Trustee Vogel, second Trustee Lang. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Abstain.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Welcome. Congratulations. Thank you.
Now,
Gee.
G, ordinance amending the Village of Wheeling's annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending December 31st, 2017.
Mr. Monshane, time to shine. One moment.
Yes.
Earlier, we had some questions relative to salaries and benefits and overtime, and somebody's math didn't add up. Mr. Spondilis, do you have an explanation? Does Mr. Monshane have an explanation?
I think we could probably both answer this. The question about salary versus the amount of money that was listed on total compensation as part of a FOIA response, the difference is because that number includes a number of other categories that are included in salary. Some of those, there's regular pay, and there's overtime pay. For a police officer, there's comp time buyback, there's extra duty pay, there's longevity pay, there's sick leave buyback, and in certain circumstances, particularly for hourly employees that do work outside of their normal designation, meaning a police officer that works in the dispatch center, an inspector who plows snow for the Public Works Department. When they do that work, they are paid at a lower rate. They are paid at the rate of the job that they are handling, and that is done through a 7G agreement. All of those numbers totaled equal the amount that was listed as total compensation. Obviously, there are budgetary impacts, all of which are included in the budget in one line item or another, but that is why total compensation is not simply the addition of salary plus overtime.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Sounds, yeah.
Did I cover everything?
You did. I'd just like to add another point, which is that the two reports that were mentioned earlier are not exactly the same. So the compensation report that was mentioned is not a budget report. It's a report that IMRF, well, I should say, the state requires us to produce each year at the end of the year, shortly after the budget ordinance is produced. So what it shows is what people are earning as of December of that year. The report that shows the actual dollars earned is the following year, so it's not an apples to apples. In this case, it was a 2016 versus a 2017 comparison, and that's why some of those numbers don't match up either. Generally speaking, what we budget is what the person ends up earning.
Thank you. Now, please.
Can I add one thing to that?
Sure, Trustee Lang.
It was also mentioned that Manager Spondulis had salary difference. Can you explain the difference of that, so that's put to rest as well?
Sure. My salary is the stated number in the budget for salary, with an additional opportunity for me to sell back vacation time, which my contract allows me to do, vehicle allowance, which my contract provides. I also have longevity pay, which every employee who qualifies within the village receives. As same answer for sick leave buyback. those who qualify are able to sell back a certain amount of time, up to 3 days, and that has a value as well. So all of that is in my contract or in the personnel policy manual, and the same answer as Director Monchain gave, all of those things added equal the total compensation for me or any other employee. The only difference for me is I have a vehicle allowance, and I am the only employee who's allowed to sell back vacation time.
And is there any way to make that clear in a document?
Not without creating a document. FOIA requires the village to provide documents that exist in accordance with FOIA law and the Illinois Records Retention, all of that. FOIA does not require the village or any municipality to create a document to explain the information.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. I just want to point out, and to make it clear, when an employee buys back vacation time and/or sick time, they're doing it at their current rate. If they wait till the point that they retire, their rate is more than likely going to be much higher, and it would cost the village more money. Is that correct?
That is correct for vacation, and I'm the only one who's allowed to do that. Sick leave buyback is a little different. Can you explain sick leave buyback?
Sure. The majority of employees have the opportunity each year to sell back a certain amount of sick time. So they can sell back, depending on how many hours they've accumulated, somewhere between 1 and 3 sick days. And so that's done at the current rate. If they don't sell that back, at the end of their career, assuming they have enough time with the village, which I believe is 20 years, they can convert that into money that can be used for healthcare expenses. So it's a little twist on the vacation issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montagne, for that little vacation from what we were doing. Now, general fund surplus or quarterly Kruger report?
And the quarterly Kruger report.
I missed that.
You can stop calling it that.
This is my opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I wanted to talk to you tonight just briefly about the results of 2017 and talk about our recommendation for what to do with the general fund surplus. But since we're talking about that, it's a good opportunity to cover what I affectionately call the quarterly Kruger report, named after the trustee who requested it.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Some trustees get a conference room named after them, others get a financial report. And what I wanted to show you is where we finished 2017, fiscal year 2017. The auditors have recently completed their work here at the village. And the story tonight is this is all very good news. So if you look at the first column for 2017, you'll probably recall that the board approved a budget that had a surplus of $51,830 to start the year. On an apples-to-apples basis, before consolidation of our 911 fund, which I will explain in a minute, we finished the year with a surplus of $211,229. So we did a little bit better than what we expected we would do. And if you look on the revenue side, we were within $81,000 of what we budgeted, and on the expenditure side, $240,000, within $240,000. So in both cases, we were within 1% or actually less than that, which is a great result. I always say that if you can come in within 2% on both the revenue and expenditure side, you're doing really well. And so I think we did well this year, and that's a credit really to the departments who budget for what they need and not beyond that. So I'd like to just highlight a couple of things. As I said, the auditors are finishing up now, and they've notified us that we're going to receive an unmodified opinion on our basic financial statements, which is a clean opinion, the highest opinion you can get, which is something I think the village should be proud of. The credit for that goes to Brian Smith, who's our assistant finance director, and the rest of the finance department staff. And in addition to that, we're also going to receive an unmodified opinion on compliance with a major federal grant, and in this case, it's the Fox Point grant. And that, too, is a significant accomplishment because that was a very difficult grant to administer, a lot of ins and outs and so forth, and the credit for that really, again, belongs with Brian Smith and the finance staff, and also Andrew Jennings, who did a lot of work on that program, so they deserve the credit for that. Now, as I mentioned before, if you were to look at our financial reports for 2017, before the recommended budget surplus declaration, what you would see is that we would actually finish the year with a surplus of $628,179. And that's because during the year, there was a state law that required the Village of Wheeling to consolidate its 911 fund with the City of Des Plaines. We dispatch for Des Plaines, and the law required us to now have a combined 911 fund. As a result, we received Des Plaines 911 money in our fund, and we have a separate line item to account for it, as well as the Wheeling money. And the concern that staff had going forward was that we had an existing fund balance that represented Wheeling's money at the end of 2017. And since we now have a combined fund, we were concerned that going forward, there would be some confusion as to which community that money belonged to. As a result, staff decided to move some dispatcher salaries and benefits that would normally be charged to the general fund to the 911 fund to clear out that fund balance, so that going forward there would not be any confusion about who the money belonged to. And that created a $628,000 surplus when it would have been 200 and some odd thousand. So wanted to just show you on the revenue side, again, we came in very close to what we budgeted. We were off in sales tax, and as we talked about at the budget meeting in November, sales tax continues to underperform where we had hoped, and this year we came in about $850,000 lower than what we expected. That was due to a number of factors. As we've talked about, online sales are impacting sales tax revenue. We had a restaurant that we expected to open but did not. We lost a major sales tax producer, and during the year, the state of Illinois implemented a 2% home rule sales tax administration fee, which cost us money as well.
Wait, I like that one. Explain that one. That was great.
So the state, as you know, in trying to balance its own budget this year, decided that one of the new fees it would implement is a home rule sales tax administration fee, and it was intended to help fund the State Department of Revenue. And so for every community that has a home rule sales tax, they are now collecting a 2% fee. For the Village of Wheeling, that's going to cost us about $75,000 a year.
So for all the work they do on their computers to assemble the sales tax that they will distribute back to us, they're going to keep 2%.
That's right. And there's legislation that's being proposed right now that would reduce that fee from 2% to 1%. It's anybody's guess whether or not that'll get any traction at the state level.
Director Mondeshane, didn't I just read that they're over budget in what they're collecting? They're collecting a lot more than what they expected?
Yes.
And is that why this legislation is being?
I believe so. I think they anticipate to collect about $60 million a year from this fee, which seems on its face to be excessive in terms of what it probably costs to run the State Department of Revenue. So I think that's why some state legislators are looking at reducing that fee or considering it.
So they could legalize pot, but whatever.
At any rate, that all of those things hurt us this year in terms of our sales tax collection. On the income tax side, we came in a little bit below where we expected to. Again, revenue has not been growing from this source. And once again, the state cut the municipal share of income tax this year by 10%. and that impacted 5 months of our fiscal year 2017 revenue and equated to about $120,000. And then I have this catch-all category called everything else, which was up about $700,000 over budget. That was because of a legal settlement that we had not budgeted for. State use tax was higher than expected, and there's some other miscellaneous sources of revenue that came in stronger than what we anticipated. So all in all, pretty close to where we budgeted it, and a good result. I just wanted to mention, I've put this up there in the past, we did not receive any large use tax transactions this year. It's hit or miss from year to year. As you can see, this chart shows that we've gone several years without any, some years with significant revenue, but nothing in 2017. And then on the expenditure side of the general fund, we did very well. Our salaries, again, this is a little deceiving because it looks like we came in $620,000 under budget, but in reality, that's because we moved those 911 related costs from the general fund where they originally budgeted to the 911 fund, the dispatcher benefits and salaries. Had we not done this, we would have been within about 1% of what we budgeted. And to the point that was being made earlier, our budget for salaries and benefits almost always lines up pretty closely to what the actual result is. So it's typically within 1%, 2% at the most, but typically within 1%. So we do a very good job as an organization of budgeting for salaries and longevity, and salaries and benefits, which includes longevity. And then you'll see these other categories in general are all pretty close to what we budgeted. The only other one that's off is FICA, IMRF, and pensions, and that's once again because we are recommending that the board contribute $475,000 of the surplus to the pension funds again this year. And that's why that number is higher by about that amount than what we budgeted. Otherwise, it would be right in line with what we budgeted. So I just wanted to go over the general fund surplus policy briefly. It was approved by the board in January of 2016. It says that the board shall consider contributing to the pension funds or the capital equipment replacement fund or OPEB trust fund each year. Doesn't mean you have to, but it means you have to think about it. And in the past couple of years, the board has contributed $1,250,000 of surplus to the pension funds. If we were to add another $475,000, which is staff's recommendation this year, it would bring the total to $1.725 million in 3 years, which is money that never would have gone into the pension funds had the board not approved that policy 2 years ago. And at the same time, we have to maintain a 25% fund balance in the general fund. So we're balancing the goal of adding more money to the pension funds and also maintaining a 25% fund balance in the general fund.
Director Mondeshane, we're supposed to be 90% funded by 2040?
That's correct. That's by state law. So we're trying to get there, and that's really what this table shows. If we were to contribute the $475,000 tonight, what you'll see is the impact that would have on the various pension funds. We have 3 pension funds: police, fire, and IMRF. You can see how well funded each of them is. What we did is we're recommending that the $475,000 be split on a prorated basis to each fund based on how well funded they are. And so most of the money ends up going to the fire pension fund and the police pension fund as a result. And all things being equal, it would have a minimal impact on the funded percentage of all 3 funds. It would end up improving it by about 0.3% if we were to approve this tonight.
Director Mondeshane, are we on track to meet that goal of 90%?
We are, and each year, our required contribution to the police and fire pension funds goes up because of that deadline of 2040. So as long as we continue to make the required contribution, we should get there.
Per the policy that we've already instituted, so we shouldn't, if we stay on this game plan.
Yes, if we follow the recommendation of the actuary for the police and fire pension fund, we should get there by 2040. Now, there's always a chance that the state will push that date back, and they have done that in the past. As they get closer to the goal line, so to speak, there's a lot of pressure on the state to push the date back, and that could always happen.
Okay, in a perfect world, what happens if we meet the 90% sooner than 2040?
In a perfect world, we're actually shooting for 100% funded, but the board could make a decision to reduce the amount of the annual contribution if we're already at 90%.
Got it. Thanks.
And then I just wanted to show you briefly how we compare our police, fire, and IMRF funds. You saw this back in November at the budget meeting. But the average is about 69%, and that's right where we're at. So there are some communities that have pension funds that are slightly better funded, but we're at the average for the communities that I have shown here. And then this is the unfunded pension, unfunded liability per capita. So taking into account population, you could see how much is owed per resident of Wheeling to the pension funds. And you can compare that to the other communities that I have listed here. In some cases, their unfunded liabilities are much higher than ours. So again, the surplus policy works to reduce our long-term liability to the pension funds, creates intergenerational equity by requiring taxpayers who are living in Wheeling now to pay their fair share of the services that they're receiving now. And it effectively earns a 7.5% return on investment because that's the investment rate assumption that each pension fund assumes they're going to earn. And I think finally it sends a strong message to the bond rating agencies and our residents and businesses when the village decides to contribute surplus money to the pension funds. And so if the board adopts the staff's recommendation to contribute $475,000 to the pension funds, it would mean that we would then finish the year with a surplus of $153,000 in the general fund, and it would maintain the general fund balance at approximately 37% of annual operating expenditures, which is where we ended 2016. And that's something that the bond rating agencies do pay attention to, whether or not your fund balance is growing or shrinking or staying the same. So that's our recommendation, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions from the board? Perfect.
Thanks.
Just need a motion.
Need a motion to approve Mr. Montaigne's report?
So moved.
Motion, trustee Kruger, second, trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, Mr. Montaigne, I know I can always rely on your numbers. It's nice. Thank you. Official communications, do we have trustees? Trustee Papantos, was that a yes?
Yes. Oh, thank you. This evening, we read a proclamation thanking, National Public Safety Telecommunicators for their work. A few weeks ago, my son was in a situation where he needed 911 dispatch. and he needed the Chicago Fire Department and their paramedics. And I want to publicly thank every public safety officer, be it police, fire, paramedic, and the dispatchers, because without them, he would not be here today. And I don't think we realize it until it hits home, how important this is. So, and I know Manager Rogers left already, but, you know, I want to thank her and her staff because I know the work they do is really hard, but it is so important. So, thank you all.
Anyone else? Trustee, Mr. Spondelos? No.
You got one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Vito.
No. Yeah, as a follow-up to something we were talking about last week, the alcohol delivery situation, Manager Spondelos mentioned some popular delivery places, but unbeknownst to me, I learned that my wife has been using this thing called Instacart, where you can go all over the place, and you can get alcohol from Tony's in Prospect Heights. If you're ordering like your groceries, we get it from Mariano's, whatever. So it's just something to consider if we're going to legislate something, which I'm against, but if we are, we may be putting our own local businesses at a disadvantage if, say, Jimenez can't Instacart a case of beer, but Tony's in Prospect Heights can or whatever. So it's not going to be, I don't even know how we would govern that. It's not going to be a localized thing where we're going to be able to, you know, legislate against all the behavior that we're trying to. There's still going to be the ability to get that from villages around the area.
Thank you.
At least I think, John, I don't know. I mean,
wouldn't anyone doing business in the village of Wheeling have to, or any municipality, have to follow the codes of the municipality they're delivering in? Yes. Therefore, if there is a ban on delivery, it wouldn't matter where the origin was of the sale. They wouldn't be able to do it within our municipal jurisdiction.
I think it still puts it at a disadvantage, though. I mean, if Tony's is able to do it and our people aren't able to do it, I mean, it's not, I don't know.
Agree. Certainly something to consider, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if there's nothing else, you have before you the bills for the period of March 15th to March 28th, and I need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Vogel.
I just have one quick question on that.
Trustee Lang.
Mind? So the very first line item, there's a moving reimbursement. Can we just have a explanation of that? I think I know what it is, but just for the public.
I asked Michael about that earlier. It's the last Fox Point reimbursement.
That entire amount?
Well, reimbursement for relocation.
Oh, yeah.
The entire amount is actually the sum of several different, the moving reimbursement is one of them. The relocation assistance is factored in, and that's the cost of relocation total, including the acquisition of the previous home and the cost differential for acquiring the new home.
Okay. Was this an average, if you would divide it by, I mean, not divide, but if you would say this is about the average cost per unit?
For a family of that size that was eligible for full relocation benefits and not just the acquisition of the home, yes, that was pretty normal in that range.
All right. It just seems like almost twice the amount of what they were awarded for a home to begin with. So there was a lot of additional funds provided for these folks as well, correct?
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty accurate assessment. It was the typical relocation package was higher than the original projection.
Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to check on that.
All of which paid for through the federal grant.
Sure.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. So we do have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
We do.
We have an executive session tonight for the purposes of pending probable or imminent litigation and the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the village. Therefore, I need a motion to recess into executive session at 8:30.
So moved.
Motion, trustee Kruger.
Second.
Trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Pavantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yep.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. We'll be back as soon as we can. You're welcome to stay or not.